Hello there, Dr. Dan Miller on the 250 River with Dr. Dan, episode 47, and welcome to all you American River travelers. I'll start this week by asking you, how's your river been lately? Fast or slow, straight or curvy? What do we do? Shallow or deep? Clear or obstructed? There's probably 24 other word pairings I could ask. But those are some basics I think we all understand. So how's it been for you on your river in the last few days or week? So we're looking at the week ending October 16th, 1775. How was the week ending your October 16th in 2025? I'm always interested to know. So let me know if you'd like. Email, cell phone, text 317-407-3687, either way. Let's get started with our sponsor for this week. Our sponsor is Charles Mays. Charles Mays is a mustard and chocolate maker in Philadelphia 250 years ago right now. He's agreed, as it happens, to be our sponsor for episode 47. And Charles has a request for anybody who has mustard seed and would like to sell them to me to manufacture my product. Please come down to one of 3 locations in downtown Philadelphia, including the widow Cunningham's house. There's 2 other spots too he gives you, but I'd like to buy your mustard seed from you. And we all know, it says in the advertisement at the newspaper, we all know how vital it is for America to have its own mustard seed manufacturing capability in these turbulent times of the colonial imperial crisis with Great Britain. So he's underscoring that fact. We know how it's vital that we have this. So that's Charles Mays. Thank you, Charles, for being an episode sponsor this time around on America 250 years ago on the American River. We're going to do top 5 today, like we always do, and we're going to start with it's a seasonal one. You know, we're coming up on Halloween, maybe a smidge early, but it's seasonal. So number five in our top 5 is the ship Octavius. Octavius is a ghost ship, claimed to have been seen by and boarded, nonetheless, by members of the whaling ship the Herald. Now that's a real ship. They said that they saw it, boarded it, broke open the ice on it that was encrusted around it, and went into the captain's cabin and found him dead at his desk with his ship's log of the Octavius. That's how they knew it as the ship name. From the year of the last century, 1762, from what it was trying to do up in the Arctic Ocean, seeking the Northwest Passage, a passing way, a travel artery through the ice from the Atlantic to the Pacific. That's the Octavius, and they somehow were lost and frozen to death, and now have been thawed enough to have it drift to the coast of Greenland and discovered, the ghost ship discovered by the Herald's whaling crew. Also in the cabin with the captain was a woman frozen to death, was a young child, a boy, naked, wrapped in a blanket, frozen to death, and was another man, a sailor apparently, frozen to death, who was holding a tinderbox. That's what they found aboard the Octavius, and they got out of there as fast as they could. But she's still adrift these many Octobers later, they say. So that's number 5 for our Halloween lovers out there. Let's go to number 4 now on our top 5. We've got a duel in Charleston, South Carolina, between Henry Laurens and John Grimke. Now, I'm not going to get into it's a duel about letters, secret letters that Grimke carried over somehow. No, I'm sorry, Lawrence's son carried over from England. Turns out the letters were meant for loyalists, British supporters there in Charleston. The letters should have been opened, Grimke says. Lawrence said, I don't know what you're talking about. Back it goes, to the point that they're preparing tomorrow morning. Remember, our week ends October 16th, 250 years ago. Tomorrow morning, they're preparing to duel at dawn with pistols. They're on the same side. They're both anti-British. They're both anti-imperial. They're both pro-colonial rights, pro-American movement. And yet, this disagreement this misunderstanding that became a disagreement, that became a blood feud to be settled at dawn tomorrow, takes precedence over that between these two men who share a fundamentally vast agreement on the fundamentally vast issue of the day. Doesn't matter, I'm going to shoot him. I find that really interesting. So here's my leadership question for you. Can I step back and maybe look at a bigger picture? If some dispute I'm in, can I step back and maybe see the outlines of something a little bit bigger? And think to myself, you know what, this is pretty petty stuff. So that's a leadership question for number 4. For number 3, let's go up to here to Mercy Otis Warren. We've had her before. She's so fascinating. She lives outside of Boston with her husband, James. They're both avid anti-imperial people, avid pro-colonial people. So she and her husband go for tea in Cambridge with Mrs. Thomas Mifflin. I should have her name, and I don't. I apologize. Mrs. Thomas Mifflin. They have tea with her. Thomas Mifflin, her husband, Thomas Mifflin, is on the staff of George Washington. So Mercy is having tea with Mrs. Mifflin. I think James is kind of along for the ride, to be perfectly honest about it. So this is all about Mercy, our number 3. Mercy goes home after the tea and starts to write out her thoughts. And she writes out about how we're still upset about the betrayal of Benjamin Church, that lousy traitor on a rotten hell. She's remarking about, God dang, everywhere we go, we're hearing talk of Navy this, Navy that. We need a Navy, she says. That's what you hear on the American side, outside of Boston. But then third and finally, that's what I wanted to bring up. She writes that she also hears about how in sync the Continental Army outside of Boston is with the Continental Congress back in Philadelphia. It's so wonderful that they're in sync. She's getting that feeling from letters that she's hearing about coming out of the delegates down in Philadelphia. God, it's great that we're in sync. And I think, she says, we're going to be seeing any day now this an expression, a kind of a creation of a new American political system, a grand system of politics that's just going to be so fabulous. We're just going to be blown away by it. Anytime now, it's coming. Anytime, we'll be hearing about it. Gosh, it's great. It's going to be great. So writes Mercy. A leadership question for you out of number 3. Realism, idealism, utopianism. There's probably other isms, but we'll go with those 3. Realism, idealism, utopianism. Where am I? Where do I hang out amongst those 3? I got to tell you, having bumped into Mercy more than a few times in Americanism Redux, she at least is at idealism, verging on utopianism. It's not a knock. Maybe we should all be there. But just as an observation, I'd say she's at the one and probably leaning hard toward the other. And certainly this letter, this expression of this new political system that's going to come out any day is lean hard toward utopianism. Where are you? Realism, idealism, utopianism. Where do I hang out? Number 2 on our top 5 of 250 years ago this week, ending October 16th, 1775. John Hancock, the person who sits at the front of the room for the Second Continental Congress meetings. John Hancock, he's called the presiding officer. He's been elected. It's an elected position by the delegates. He kind of runs the meeting, runs the sessions. By the way, I've created a word, president, not the president. That's his official title, but I think we need to think about president, preside-nt, as a new way of understanding the President of the United States in its early iterations here in the Union of October 1775. There's a president named John Hancock. Hancock writes a letter to the Assembly of New Jersey. This is the pro-colonial assembly that's popped up. And he says, in the name of the Congress, he says that like 3 or 4 times, in the name of the Congress, We urge you, authorize you, push you to start forming battalions, regiments for the new Continental Army. New New Jersey battalions and regiments in the name of the Congress. They're going to get a hunting shirt, Hunting, hunting shirt. They're going to get a blanket, and they're going to be expected to serve for 1 year. I'm sending along as the president, in the name of the Congress, 48 blank officers' commissions, blank sheets of paper. You fill in the name. It's got a whole bunch of verbiage on it, nominating or declaring that the person whose name has been written in the line is now an officer in the New Jersey battalions. I'm sending along 48 of those for you to use in New Jersey. Oh, that's good coffee. Hunting shirt, blanket, a year's service, and 48 blank officers' commissions for New Jersey. Signed, the President of the Continental Congress, John Hancock. That's a really interesting thing. I don't have time. I always want to try to keep you to about 15 minutes. That's a really interesting thing, man. Here's my question for you. From a leadership perspective, where does the power run in your world? Where does the power come from in your leadership? Is there power? Power, not influence, but power. Where does it run from and run toward? Hancock's here is running from, through, out of the Continental Congress. I am the president. I'm writing to you in the name of the Congress. It's expected you'll do this, right? How does the power run in your day-to-day, week-to-week leadership? Number one, we've got a birth of a Navy. The Navy is formed this week, 250 years ago. Alongside with them is the Marines, formed in a broader sense this week, 250 years ago. The Navy and the Marines are announced by the Second Continental Congress 250 years ago this week, with the president there in the same room with the other 50 some odd delegates. I want to just point out something here. By the way, at the same week, if you go on up the coast from Philadelphia, keep going past Boston, on up to Falmouth. It's now Maine, to Falmouth, just off the coast, or just off the harbor line, are 4 British military ships ready to begin firing on the town. It's more than a threat, it's a reality. And it's going to happen unless certain conditions are met. Those conditions are almost certainly going to be unachievable. The point being, this place is going to go down in flames. Not today, not October 16th, but it's going to be within the next 24 to 48 hours. That's the kind of reality that in part has prompted the Second Continental Congress to create a Navy and Marines to protect from that kind of. We've got to protect ourselves. We're getting these threats up and down the coast. Some of them have been violent. Some of them have proven true. Some of them are going to get out of hand. The one at Falmouth is going to get out of hand real fast. They don't know that, but they know it's a problem, and that's why the Navy's had its birthday 250 years ago. So they got to protect from that. But I want to tell you something else, and then I'll get out of your way. That birthday is about more than protection. That birthday is about projection. So we're gonna drop the T in protect, and we're gonna swap in a J, project. A Navy projects itself. A Navy projects the collected political entity that created it. It projects it in various places. Those places are all going to be water-bound, water-driven. But they don't have to just be the coast of our little area here. They can be anywhere. A Navy protects and projects. There's a wonderful scene from the movie Master and Commander, where the commander, is it Jack Aubrey? Russell Crowe says, "This ship is England." That's exactly the point. It not only protects, it projects. That's where we are. as of now, 250 years ago, well before the Declaration of Independence that we'll be celebrating next year in 2026. So the big idea, what's the big idea, Dan? Everything we're talking about, this picks up on my point, I'll get out of your way. Everything we're talking about is pre-nation, before independence, before the Declaration, before what's regarded as our big birthday, right? Of July 4th or whatever, 1776. We're well before that, 250 years ago now. And we've got a lot of things happening in the Union, capital U. You want to understand the creation of the American nation, you have got to understand the creation and the gestation of the American Union. We've overlooked that. And I've been pounding the drum, haven't I, about the Union first, nation second. It's that way 250 years ago, right now. I'm Dr. Dan Miller, Historical Solutions, LLC. How's it on your river right now? I'll talk to you next week.